Hi kids, welcome back. It's been 3 long years since I posted a video on this channel and I'm getting back into it. And what I want to do with this channel now is something that I do with a lot of my free time, which is go to forums and answer people's questions that they have about Excel. People have problems in the real world and they want to figure out how to solve them, and this is what I do. So let's take a look at one of them. This guy asks, I want to count from smaller to larger valve. I think he means values of each row and put them in one cell separated by a vertical bar. Is that possible? I'm going to answer that last part right now. Everything is possible in Excel if you have enough creativity and patience to figure it out. So let's take a look at what he's asking here. He's given us some sample data, and he's actually given us what he wants as a result. This is the way to ask a question on a forum. People are so vague with some of their questions. They say, I want to do this with that, and you have no idea what they're talking about. This is the way to do it. So what he's asking is, he wants to look at each row here. He wants to say, how many zeros are there? How many ones are there? There are 6 zeros separated by a bar. There are 8 ones. Well, he's actually got that particular example backwards, but that's fine. He's given us enough sample data to work with. We can figure out what he means. It's fine that he's screwed up a little bit. So, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to make a playlist where we have 3 different ways to solve this problem. The way we're going to do in this video is a Power Query solution. The way in the next video is going to be a Visual Basic solution, which in my opinion is probably the best way to solve this problem. And the third one, unfortunately coming in last, is a formula solution. Now, that's not to say that formulas are the worst or Visual Basic is the best. No, every solution has its own best, or every problem has its own best solution. In this case, even though I'm starting with Power Query, I think it's probably Visual Basic, but I'm just kind of really getting into Power Query. I'm not an expert by any means, but I think it's really fun and really cool, so we're going to see how that works. So, what does this guy want to do? He wants to group all the zeros together, give them a count, group all the ones together, give them a count. We're going to do it in Power Query, so how do we do that? We're going to click in this range that he's given us, and we're going to go up to the Data tab. And what we want to do is we want to get and transform the data, and we want to go from a table or range because we're working with a range. Now I'm going to give you a pro tip here. Working with the user interface is fine, but you're going to make your life a whole lot faster, easier, and cooler if you learn keyboard shortcuts. So the way you do that, if we hit the Alt key, you can see that it gives us a letter for each one of our tabs. We're working with the Data tab. That's A. So we're going to click A. Now it gives us all of the options under the Data tab. The one we want is from table or range. That's PT. So I'm just going to click PT. I think I screwed that up. Alt PT. Now it's screaming at me. Alt PT. Oh, sorry. Alt A PT. Yeah. Yeah, I know I just said how cool keyboard shortcuts were and I screwed that up, but whatever, forget that. Alright, now it's loaded our data into Power Query. So if we go over to the right here, we can see that we've got a couple of steps. We've got source, which is just loading our range into the table. We've got change type. And Power Query is trying to figure out what all these numbers are. Is it text? Is it a number? And it's actually pretty good. It figured out that all of these are integers. But we really don't need this step. It's kind of garbage for us. We can usually get rid of these automatic steps that Power Query does for us. So that's what we're going to do. So now what do we want to do? We want to add a column. We've got all of these columns here. We want another column that has all of the counts of each one of these values separated by a bar. So it's pretty intuitive. We go up to the ribbon and we click on Add Column. We want to add a custom column. And what we want to do, now in Excel we would refer to all of these things as cells, but in Power Query they're referred to as records. Not really super important, it's kind of beyond the scope of this video, but just know that these are records. And what do we want to do? We want to go from a record to a list. So Power Query is kind of cool because the language that they use, M code, is kind of intuitive. So we have records. We want to go to a list. And something to note here is that Power Query really cares about your capitalization. So make sure that T in 2 is capitalized and L in list is capitalized. Now, usually when we're going to pass an argument into a function like this, we could just double click on a column, but we want every column to be included. So a little bit of Power Query shorthand is just to put in an underscore. And we're going to click OK. And we can see in our newly created column that we have all of these lists in each one of these rows. And if we click in the white space and look at the preview that it gives us, you can see that every one of these columns has now been put into a list for each row in our range. Cool, good start. Now what do we do? Well, what we really want to do is we want to get all the zeros together and we want to get all the ones together. So how do we do that? We want to sort our list. Alright, so let's go back to our steps, go to the gear icon, and again, using just kind of normal English language, we have a list, we want to sort it. List.sort takes one argument, our list. Click OK. And now, if we go to our preview, we can see that our list has now been sorted. All of the zeros are together. All of the ones are together. Cool. We're making progress. So now what do we want to do? Well, to be honest with you, as cool as lists are, they're kind of limited in Power Query. What we really want to do is change this list into a table. So let's go back to our function again. Hit the gear icon. And we want to go from a list to a table. So we're going to say table.fromList. I might have gotten that wrong, but either way, we're going to get an error. There's the error. So let's click in the white space and move this over to see what that error is. This is what I was expecting. It says we cannot convert the value 0 to type text. For some weird reason, it doesn't like numbers. It wants text. So we're just going to convert it for ourselves. So if we go back to our step and we click the gear icon, we're going to just get rid of that last thing that we did. Table.fromList, you're going away. And what do we want to do? I am going to give you one of the coolest and most powerful functions that I've come across so far, which is List.Transform. Nope, I'm not actually typing. That's cool. Here we go. List.Transform. List.Transform is a function that takes two arguments, a list and what we want to do to it. So what we want to do to it is actually another function, which is going to say we have a number. We want to go from a number to text. So we're going to say, text.from. I have some weird syntax error here. I think I have too many parentheses. There we go. Cool. New list. So if I click on the white space, we can see that really nothing has changed, because whether it's text or a number, it looks exactly the same. But now, when we try to turn it into a table, we're not going to get that screwy error. So, again, we're going to wrap everything that we've done so far into another function, which is going to be table.from list. And that just takes one argument. And we can see that our list has now turned into a table. I'm going to click in the white space, move my screen so that we can see. Now instead of saying list over here, it says column 1. Cool. Now we're cooking with gas. So, like I said, I am not a Power Query pro by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't have all of these formulas memorized in my head, but that's okay. We can actually use the user interface to make all of these steps for us. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to go back. Let's move our screen up here. Actually over here. No, I had it right before. And what we're going to do, like we've been doing so far, if we click in the white space in any of these rows, it's going to give us a preview of what's in that row. But now I'm actually going to click on this little hyperlink on any row. It really doesn't matter. And when I do that, it's going to drill down to every value in that table. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. So the list has now been turned into a table. What is our next step? Again, we want to group all the zeros together, give them a count, group all the ones together, give them a count, etc., etc. So we can use the user interface, go to the Home tab, go to Group By. Power Query knows we've just got one column to work with, so that's the one we're going to group by. It's going to give it some generic name, count. Sometimes, given the situation, you might want to change that. It really doesn't matter for us right now. And then it gives us the option for an operation. We could click Sum, and if we click Sum, the column option becomes available. And it asks us, if we had a table with multiple columns, we could tell it which column we wanted to sum by. But Power Query got it right in the beginning. We want to use the operation count rows. Perfect. Click OK. And we can see that what it's done is it's given us a unique list of all of our values and how many times those values showed up in each row. Perfect. This is what we're looking for. But if we look at our steps now, we've made kind of a mess of it. We drilled down with our custom step. Now we've grouped rows together. I want to do everything in one step. It's going to be clean. It's going to be cool. So we're going to get rid, actually first what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we copy everything that we've just done. And then we're going to go back to our steps and get rid of the last two things that we just did. Grouped rows, you're gone. Custom, you're gone. And again, we're going to go to our added custom step, click the gear icon. And you're going to have to forgive me because this keyboard is kind of weird. Usually I would just hit enter and it would give me a new line, but for some reason that just doesn't work. So I'm going to hit space like a bunch of times just to give myself some room. And we're going to paste in what we just copied. And what we just pasted is table.group, which takes two arguments. The first argument is the step before. That was our drill down step, which is called custom. We're going to replace custom with everything that we've done so far. And everything that we've done so far is right here. I'm going to cut that, double click on custom, and paste it into that first argument. Click OK. And now let's take a look at our preview again. Cool. Now each row has a table in it. Each table has two columns, a unique list of our values, and how many times those values occurred. But we really don't care about the first column. all we really want is the second column, how many times they appeared. All right, so now our next step is going to be, and I think you might be seeing a pattern here, clicking the gear icon and adding another function. We're going to wrap, again, everything that we've done with another function. And this one is going to be table.column. Table.column, I'm not typing again. Table.column takes two arguments. The first argument is an actual table, and the second argument is the column that you want to isolate. So we're going to separate that by a comma, and we're going to tell it which column we want, which, if we look at our preview, there is count. I'll show you that again. We don't want column 1, we just want count. So I'm going to click OK. And now we can see it's turned our table into a list for us. We're getting pretty close to the end here. So if we look at our list, we have just the column that we wanted. We're getting really close. So now, again, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to do? Well, we want to combine everything in that list and separate it by a bar. So we have another function for that. And we're going to take all the text and we're going to combine it. Text.combine takes two arguments. The first argument is the text, or in this case, a list. And the second argument is going to be a delimiter, which the user wanted a bar. So we're going to put that in, but again, we're going to get an error. What is that error? It says we cannot convert the value 8 to type text. So we have numbers. We're using a function called text.combine. We need to change numbers into text. So we've got to go back to our step. And we're going to get rid of text.combine. We're going to go back to that function that I like so much, which is List.Transform. We have a list. We want to go from one thing to another. We want to go from numbers to text. So the first argument is the list. The second argument is a function, and it's the same function that we used before, text.from. So we're going to go from a number to text. And if we look at the preview, again, it's going to look exactly the same because numbers and text, you really can't tell the difference. But the difference really is now when we use our text.combine function, it's actually going to work. First argument is our list. Second argument is our delimiter. Click OK, and bam, this is exactly what we were looking for. If we look at that first row, there are 8 zeros and 6 ones. We look at the second row, there are 6 zeros, 5 ones, 3 twos. Perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. So what do we do now? If we go back up to the ribbon on the Home tab, we can see that we've got the close and load, and that gives us a couple of options. If we hit close and load on its own, that's just going to override our original table with our results. We want to actually use close and load too, because that gives us more options. So we want to put it into a table. We don't want a new worksheet. We want the worksheet that we're on right now. And if I click this button, it's going to allow me to say which cell I want to use as our start cell for our table. So I'm going to give ourselves a little bit of room here. Click that button again and click OK. And you can see that Power Query has put our new table in with all of the results that we were looking for. That is awesome. Now, Excel is also changed our range into an actual table object. So if I click in the last column and the last row of this table and click Tab, you can see that it made a new row for us. And now I can just start typing in random numbers. Nope, screwed that one up. Bunch of 76s. Nope, I screwed it up again. All right. Actually, going to delete that last one. Okay, so we have our new row. It's got 5s, 76s, 88s, and 92s. So if we go to what Power Query has given us, we can see that that does not show up. Well, that's fine. Power Query doesn't update automatically. So if we click on any of these cells in here, we can see that the ribbon has highlighted a couple of tabs for us. We have Table Design and Query. We want to go to Query, hit Refresh, and bam, everything that we just entered into our source table has now been put into the format that our requester on the forum has asked for. So we have 4 5s, 3 76s, 3 88s, and 4 92s. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I know we covered a lot of stuff, and if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Look out for the next videos in this playlist. Again, it's going to be Visual Basic and Formula Solutions in the next ones. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next videos. Later.